Hi there, this is Cyril, and this is a bit different from my usual content. I decided to make and release this video in July because schools and universities around America are out for the summer, so it doesn't coincide with any school shootings. This is your only content warning since this is a sore spot for many Americans. If you feel uncomfortable about the topic, please turn away now. I've been doing active shooter drills from elementary school to now, even as someone who is on the substitute teacher list for several schools. I was born in the post-Columbine world, so the world of the active shooter drill is the only one I've known. Before I begin talking about my experiences, let's start talking about Columbine. It's not the first school shooting, nor was it the deadliest. However, it was and still is the inspiration for many school shooters who exist to this day. Columbine was before my time, but my parents certainly remember following the news about the shooting in the evenings and lambasting the cops for their slow response. It took 45 minutes for the police to respond properly to a shooting? Since then, the philosophy changed. No more waiting out for the SWAT team. If there was an active shooter, and you're an officer in the area, you go in. The philosophy that dominated my elementary school's lockdown drills were what I like to call hide and hope. Teachers would lock the doors, the blinds would get pulled, the lights would be turned off, and we would put a cloth or construction paper over the window on the door. We would also line up against the wall and be as quiet as possible. Although my friends tell me in other districts their schools made them hide beneath desks, so this might be a school to school thing or a district to district thing. Either way, you get the idea. The goal was to hide from the school shooter and hope the shooter doesn't enter the room. Let the police handle it. When I was in middle school, things changed. Yes, I was still in elementary school when Virginia Tech, the deadliest school shooting in America, happened. But that happened before social media became the juggernaut it was. And that's in addition to the traditional media like CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. When Sandy Hook happened, everyone was talking about it. At the time, not everyone in my friend group had a smartphone, and honestly, we hadn't developed the skill of being subtle with them from the teachers yet. But the endless bombardment of coverage from both traditional and social media made the 11-minute shooting feel like hours, if not days. The gory details of this shooting were out in the open, from stories that a little girl covered herself in blood and played dead, to making martyrs out of all the teachers. But let's look at the big picture here. One such incident we knew about was the case of Victoria Lee Soto's class. The perpetrator had beaten her to the door. Details are a bit fuzzy, but Soto's students were either hiding under their desk, in a storage room, probably some combination of both, before being ordered to run by one of Soto's students. These were first graders, mind you. They could barely tie their own shoes, yet they're running for their lives. We can no longer ask, what if the hide and hope method fails? We have an example of a shooter barging into a classroom and killing almost everyone in it, including the teacher. If the kids sat along the walls, then you've basically lined up students like ducks ripe for shooting. If the kids were under their desk, then that's not much better. What are you going to do? They have a shooter with more ammunition than people that actually are in the school spraying bullets and blocking off the exit. The kids in Soto's classroom claim the perpetrator's gun jammed, which allowed them to escape with their lives. Suddenly, we get more active shooter programs such as Run, Hide, Fight, or Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate, or ALICE. Whatever program is used, the idea is the same. The best place to be in a school shooting is far away from the school. If you cannot do that, then make sure you and your cohort barricade the doors and prepare for a fight. We're telling children to start thinking of using anything as a weapon when it comes to the fight part of Run, Hide, Fight. Are you going to chuck textbooks at the shooter? Are you going to stab the shooter with some art scissors? Are you going to get lucky and end up in a chemistry classroom where you can melt and burn the shooter with various acids and bases? I hear sulfuric acid and hydrogen peroxide melts flesh off of bone and forces metals to produce explosive hydrogen gas. Maybe you're a band geek and you can turn the music stands and cymbals into instruments of torture. Yes, kids are being taught to think like this, and it's horrifying. What's also horrifying is the simulated versions of school shootings. I'm not talking about regular drills. I'm talking about bringing in police and private security firms to simulate what it's like to be in a school shooting. Everything from fake blood to firing blanks is used to make this as realistic as possible. Yes, they are using blanks and fake blood in these simulations. What's worse is that the students and possibly faculty don't know this is happening as a drill. For all they know, this is the real deal. Then the powers that be go, LOL, this is fake, to the kids right after it passes. They fundamentally don't understand how trauma works. Trauma is a response to threats the body perceives. Going LOL and saying this is a drill doesn't make trauma go away. Alright, this video is about my experiences, so I guess I should be talking about the time I was and wasn't in a school shooting. At my school, drills were always scheduled. Even fire drills, we had gotten into the routine of expecting one at the end of every quarter. It was just something that teachers knew about and the principal just announced. One day, that did not happen. The principal just said over the PA system, "We're going into lockdown." My teacher was confused because normally he would know. But he did what he was supposed to, pulling blinds, curtains, doors, barricades, cutting lights, whatever. Now, in a run, hide, fight scenario, we're supposed to work together in case the shooter gets through the door. In theory, this makes sense. A shooter getting through the door would be met with multiple saws, scissors, and stools from all directions. However, practice is different from theory. Some were curled on the ground and just simply shut down from fear. Some of those on the ground thought it was just a drill and decided to chatter at normal speaking levels. Others decided to whisper to them to shut the hell up. And the rest of us were willing to fight, but organization wasn't our strong suit because we were all pretty terrified. All things considered, I'm surprised the stool I was holding onto doesn't have my fingerprints embedded into them because I was holding it so tightly. I do remember one fellow student who had taken off his belt and was basically dictating to us. Okay, get the gun away from him as soon as possible, then stab the shooter in the throat. So you have a classroom full of students who 1/3 are willing to fight but aren't organized, 1/3 shut down completely out of terror, and 1/3 are arguing over whether this is real or not. That's stupid. Eventually the principal said over to the speaker system, "The lockdown has ended." Except this did nothing to de-escalate the situation at all because we were always taught never to answer the door unless it was someone with a master key. That's because one of those worst case scenarios is that the shooter has taken a hostage and tries to lower everyone else's guard. Yes, that's actually something they taught us in class from like K to 12. This was also after Parkland happened, and this is relevant because we were told that the Parkland shooter pulled down the fire alarm to make it easier to shoot at students and access classrooms. From what I was told by former faculty members, apparently a student or staff member decided to go postal and the principal ordered the lockdown of the school. Yes, to this day, I really don't know what happened. Why is this relevant? Because school shootings are real and they keep happening. And we keep shifting more responsibilities to individual schools and districts, from arming teachers to pilot programs for bulletproof classroom shelters. So much money is being poured into these kinds of programs that would be spent on better things like making schools much better academically. And I won't be surprised when there will be schools specifically designed to deter shooters and bombers. Then there's the reasonable what-if scenarios. Because of how traumatizing these simulations are, I'm surprised nobody got slapped with a massive lawsuit over this that made national headlines. I'm also not looking forward to the day an officer or a private security firm ends up getting slapped with a music stand or broken chemistry glassware during one of these drills. You really do not want the chemicals that go inside these things to be in you as well. Hell, my shop class was ready to come at a guy with bar stools, hacksaws, and scissors. Officers simulating a school shooting as part of a drill, students being in the dark as to whether or not it's a real school shooting, and someone getting hurt for real screams like it's going to lead to a long protracted court battle. We're also missing the big picture. Bulletproof shelters, active shooter drills, and armed teachers are all means of mitigation. The school shooter is already in the building by the time training and shelter come into effect. If we're investing so much money in what amounts to mitigation, then how much are we investing in prevention? It's like investing in chemotherapy drugs, which is used to fight cancers, but not things that actually cause cancer, like cigarettes, or like what's pictured before you, cigarettes with asbestos filters. Yes, those were once a thing. Since this is a societal issue, we as a society need to solve it, and I think we all know what that entails. That's it for this video. Please consider flame warring in my comments section responsibly. This is Cyril signing off.